Hey, Michael O'Toole here at the Gondola Getaway down here in Alamitos Bay, Long Beach, where we take gondolas and cruise them through the canals over in Naples. You know, I grew up here in Naples. I grew up in Alamitos Bay. I actually grew up on this dock when I was 9 years old, learning how to sail. And here I am now with the gondolas on this dock for 41 years this year. So it kind of all started in college up at USC. I had to start a business on paper and show it running throughout the semester. And I knew the history of Long Beach, or Naples Island here, and they had gondolas here back in 1903. The whole entire canal system and island system was built to replicate pieces of Venice. And so all the street names are Italian. They've got canals, 3 canals, the Rivo Alto, Colonnade, and Naples Canal. They've got 5 bridges. And really the size of the bridges, the height of the bridges, the number of bridges, the width of the canals, the prevailing winds and the lightness of the winds here in the bay really are what make this gondola business so special, because people come back for this real kind of intimate, cozy experience that they get in the canals. So anyway, when I graduated from USC, I had to start a business I needed to start a business or get to work or do something, and I just wasn't quite ready for the rigors of the corporate world and living up in LA and doing that thing. And I had taken a year off of college and sailed around the world, and so I had that saltiness in my blood where I really needed to be on the ocean front somehow. So I decided, what the heck, I went over to Italy, learned how the boats were built, learned a little bit about how they were rowed, and I came back and started building boats here in Long Beach, and the business was started. You know, we started with 1 boat, went up to 2 boats, had a little phone booth over Alamitos Bay landing area where I would make cheese and salami baskets and answer the telephone and put it on messages and take a cruise out and then come back and pick up the next crew. And so it was really a meager little start, but it was something to keep me out of the corporate world. And then we built and built and built, and the fleet now is up to 12 gondolas. We operate here during Christmas time. Is a pretty wild time. We have different seasons. Summertime is our longest season. Valentine's is our single busiest day. And December is our single busiest month because of unbelievable Christmas lights inside the canals over there. It's almost like a Norman Rockwell painting or something as you're going through there. So this is special, where we're sending out 70 gondolas a night, taking people on these Christmas light cruises, which is just a beautiful thing. So, you know, along the way, some of the interesting things would be, we went over to watch a gondola race back in 1984, and were invited to come back and participate in a regatta called the Vogalonga. It's a 20-mile sojourn through the entire lagoon of Venezia. And we built a boat, practiced in that boat, went back to Venice and participated in this unbelievable event. For 2,000 boats and 6,000 rowers.
Hold on just a second.
We did that first one in 1985, and we've been going back every year, and you know, a couple of years here and there where during COVID and things like that. But this year we'll be going back in May for our 36th participation in the Vogalonga, and we're still the only American team that goes over there. So we put together our top gondoliers, guys that have been rowing the longest or are willing to commit to this practice time that we do, and we go over there and participate. So it's been an unbelievable way to bring really the soul of Venezia to the shores of Long Beach. We've got many gondoliers here now that have rowed down the Grand Canal and underneath the Rialto Bridge and met the boat builders and the rowing clubs and such. And so all of that seems like some people will say, oh, you guys just love to go to Italy and do an eat and drink and row type of trip, but it really has proven to solidify the authenticity and the soul of Venice and brought it and insert into the business, and we can offer that feeling to all of our customers in here. So over the years, we've developed all different types of things. We've got 2 large gondolas that can seat up to 14. Fantastic for groups, but what it's really morphed into is we do these pizza cruises on board, where we team up with Domenico's down here in Belmont Shore, and we do these pizza cruises. And so it's a floating pizzeria going through the canals with two guys rowing the boat and singing opera to you. The only place in the world I can guarantee that this can happen. It doesn't even happen in Venice, Italy. And so this floating pizzeria has really been a knockout punch as far as a fun use for this new, or for these larger gondolas. And then along the way, I wanted to try to add different little elements of food and things. You know, we don't have a big kitchen, we can't do all kinds of things, which I would absolutely love to do. I used to have an Italian restaurant, actually, that we had an old 1970 Cadillac limousine that would roll from here to there, and we'd do these packages with that, and that was fantastic. But without a restaurant right now, I wanted to add something. And this is a funny little segue. Over in Oahu, there's a place called Leonard's that sells malasadas, which is a Portuguese donut, basically. A lot of different places serve it, but Leonard's has a line out the door from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every single day of the week. And I've always been enamored by that one product fame that a place could gain. So I thought, what one product could I do at the Gondola Getaway that wouldn't take a tremendous giant kitchen to be able to do it, and go down that same road, ultimately someday have a line out the door. Well, we've done it, or we've started it with cannoli. You know, the cannoli is classic. So many people know about it. A lot of people don't know exactly what's in it, but they've heard of it. And so what we've developed is this little cannoli corner in here, where now for our customers, we've got cannolis you know, for all of them, but it's starting to spread out where the community is starting to realize that, hey, you know where there's a great cannoli? Yeah, you go out on the end of that dock down there in Alamedas Bay and they'll make you a cannoli. The other day we had a boat pull up on the end of the dock, and they were out there for a harbor cruise, and a couple guys ran up and grabbed a couple of cannolis and ran back down to the boat and took off. So my dream is to create that line out the door. Not only do we do gondolas, but the local neighborhood or from the LA basin comes down to the Gondola Getaway to get cannolis. But we serve appetizers. We do little roll-ups of cheese and salami, and we do olives and mozzarella, and so all the people have the options for some fun little appetizers. And then we have a great dessert with a cannoli, and then we've got the full pizza cruise on the big boat. So Gondola Getaway is alive and thriving. 41 years later, same dock, same place, same bay, doing the same thing that they were trying to do back in 1903. We're carrying on the tradition. The Vogelong is that tradition that we do here at the Gondola Getaway, and typically we take our top gondoliers. It's a kind of a system that they go through. They've got to practice rowing up to 50 miles here minimum. We do a lot more than that typically. They've got to have been rowing here for at least a year. They've got to know the Voga Veneta style, which is the single oar. They've got to be willing to pay for their flight. We'll pay for everything else, although if our fundraising goes good, but it usually does all right, we're able to cover that cost also. But we fly a team over there. We get a house. We're all based in one home. I move around through all of Venezia, and so I've never stayed in the same place twice. I like to experience every neighborhood and give that experience to these kids. We always try to find a place with a really good kitchen, because we like to go down to the market and cook a lot of meals at the house itself, and so they get a real feel of the home life of Venezia. And then the whole entire time we travel around through not the typical spots that people go. We go to the boatyards, we go to the rowing clubs, we go to the outer lagoon, where really it's only Venetians are at. And so you get a real taste of the old world of Venezia on this trip, because it's people practicing and doing what they've been doing down there for 1,000 years, as opposed to the tourist side. I remember one trip we were there, and all of a sudden it was a bunch of guys doing their luncheon together. And there, the concept is they would all get up and sing a song. And so each guy would get up and sing some opera. And so this one guy stands up and he's talking to the guys, and he tells them that he's going to sing Nessun Dorma. And Nessun Dorma has a couple of notes at the end that are really hard to get. Pavarotti does it the best. And you step it up with that third octave that they hit. You know, not very many people can do it. And here's this guy who was probably 85, maybe 90. And he was gonna attempt this song, and all his buddies are jeering him. Oh yeah, go ahead, give it a try. So he gets up there. Well, our photographer, the guy cinematographer, we were kind of in awe, like thinking about, oh my God, we get to watch this guy sing. This is classic. What a fly on the wall moment. Well, you got a good cinematographer. No, he was right up there with the camera on the ground underneath this guy, taking pictures of him singing, and the guy actually loved it, which most people wouldn't mind, but we just wouldn't do it. And that was the art of the great cinematographer. You can get shots that nobody else would get. So this guy went up and started singing the song, and he went up and up and up, and he went for that note and couldn't do it at all. It completely just blew him up. And that's what brought everybody up, standing up, clapping, because the guy went for it. He knew that he probably couldn't do it, but he was going to go for it anyway, and we actually got that on film, which was just such a special moment. So that's the ode to the cinematographers that can get their camera in places that you would never get it and get shots that are so memorable. And that was one of the trips that we had. That we had a guy with us with a good camera.
Set the stage. Where was this?
That was in Venezia at Giorgione restaurant on the Via Garibaldi with Lucio Basuto. Just a classic moment.
So O'Toole is Italian, huh?
Ottolini.
Ottolini?
Well, the other half of the family is Sigliano, so we figured we finally fit into it just fine. Just I had to make Mom and Dad both happy. At one point, my mom was always happy because she comes from the Sigliano side, and she always was happy that we had gondolas. But my dad, on the O'Toole side, always felt a little left out of the whole thing. So back in 1997, was it? I opened up Limerick's Irish Pub. And so then I had gondolas and an Irish pub, so both sides of the family were happy. So here's our cannolis. These have become a funny thing. I mean, the research of cannolis is tough. Being that I don't have a kitchen that I can produce a whole bunch of things, I had to find product that I could be really satisfied with. So where do cannolis really come from, or where they claim the birth of them, is really down in Sicily. And so down in Sicily, what I found is a company that I can actually bring in the actual cannoli filling from Sicily, and I can bring in the shells from Sicily, and I can actually produce what would be everything made in Sicily, just built here in Long Beach. The key with a cannoli so much is the crunch. You've got to have that crunch. It's got to flake. There's a lot of different products out there that you can get, and if you pre-make the cannoli too far in advance and it goes in the refrigerator waiting for the customer, the cannoli will soften down below because of the cream, and all of a sudden it's a beautiful thing, but you don't have the crunch. And so what I needed to do is either make them fresh almost to order. These will go in the refrigerator for a few hours, and so it's not too big of a deal to pre-make some of them. But I lost my contact with Sicily that had these ones with a chocolate lining on the inside. Well, what does that chocolate do? Certainly adds a flavor, but it also creates a barrier, and so the cream does not get to the cannoli shell, and you can make them and put them in the refrigerator and hold them for like a whole day, and they're still completely crunchy and fresh. And so that's one of the beauties. But since we can't, that supplier doesn't exist anymore, now we just make them a lot more fresh. This is a beautiful, super crunchy cannoli shell. And then we get the cream that comes in from Sicily, and we'll come in here and we'll shoot these things in. One of the keys of making a cannoli, the simplicity of it, is that looks beautiful, but you got to make sure that cream is coming out this side, because if you just fill two ends and end up with a hollow middle, man, you're really bumming people out. So here, we make sure that second one gets really shoved in there. What I like to do is do it until this side starts to move a little. And you see that come out, oh, there again, then you know you're all the way in there. Then you make this beautiful cannoli. And then what we'll do is we'll add a little bit of pistachio onto one side of the cannoli. And then we will add one of these beautiful maraschino chilies, or chilies, I always call them chilies, cherries, onto the top Boom. And there we've got a beautiful cannoli with a taste of pistachio, a maraschino chili, or cherry on the other side, a super crunchy shell, and a beautiful Sicilian feeling. And that's what we call the Gondoli cannoli. Oh, almost forgot. Boom, 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 boom. There's the finish. Now we've got the full-blown cannoli.
You want to throw some more of that on there? Beautiful.
Just to finish her off with a little sugar. So people get confused sometimes, you know, if they don't know much about it, and they think, is that a cannoli? What do you guys have, cannelloni? Cannoli? No, this is the cannoli. This is dessert. It can be breakfast, lunch, or dinner if you like, but boy, oh boy, when you bite into a cannoli, you're halfway to Italy. When you're on a gondola, you're almost all the way across. So between the combination of a cannoli and a gondola ride through canals with a gondolier singing opera, come on, Italy in your own backyard. You'll probably save $5,000, $10,000 by coming here rather than going all the way over there. And we take it to heart. We have the soul. We have what it takes to give you a true Venetian experience.